Good afternoon, Bruins. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Andrew Bottom, and I am your Associate Director for the Global Internship Program here at UCLA. And Dr. Dorio invited me today to share a little bit more about how you can conduct an internship abroad this upcoming summer, as well as fulfill your community engagement requirement for the education major. So before I get started, I always like to highlight a little bit about what our students' experiences are on these programs. We have various locations that our students do visit, but in this next screen, I'm going to show you a little bit about our students' experience in Cape Town.
Love it here. The natural beauty is second to none.
I feel like 2 months is too short.
I got to see the Big Five. I feel like that was the epitome of, oh my gosh, I'm in Africa.
I am in the integration pathways team, helping with employment access.
I've organized a lot of the activities and the themes for the community events.
I get to interact with the CEO. There's so much to learn.
I work very closely with Kate on learning how to communicate with clients, so she taught me a ton.
I'm doing here teaching assistants, having fun with spending time with kids.
You know, applying everything that I've learned here has been extremely rewarding.
There's always someone to talk to if I need. There's always someone to listen.
We've done a lot.
You not only get to go to a new country, but you get to meet so many new people.
It has literally been like the best decision of my life.
That's a quick snapshot of what our students who went to Cape Town last year experienced while they were on the program. But today, what I want to do is use this time to talk a little bit about why you might be interested in conducting an internship abroad, give you an overview of the program, discuss the career sectors and locations that you can conduct an internship in, then move over towards the application selection and placement process, discuss program funding options, as well as the upcoming location-specific info sessions where you can learn from our on-site partners who actually conduct these placements for our students. And then at the end, we'll have a short Q&A. So why might you consider interning abroad? And as I go through these slides, I want to point out that all these photos and pictures are from some of our past students who have done the education-based programs. So why might you want to intern abroad? So we talk to our students before they go and when they return, and there's 5 things we generally hear back. So the first one is to gain a competitive edge in the job market. I know that it's quite challenging these days once you graduate to really stand out, in that stack of resumes from other, applicants. And so doing a global internship provides you something unique to discuss in your interview, in your cover letter, to put on your resume. And so that's one, advantage of conducting a global internship. Also, of course, when you're abroad, when you are interning, you'll gain both industry-based knowledge, so those hard skills, but also strengthen a lot of soft skills. So I think a lot of times students are thinking, okay, what are the particular skills that I'll be able to take, from this job, lesson planning, information, about how to work in NGOs, nonprofits. That a lot of times students isn't just the hard skills they take, it's they come back and they say, wow, I've never been in, this type of professional setting before. I really learned how to discuss deliverables with my boss, manage my time, I build my adaptability skills, it may be your first time working in a particular career field. And so I think there's a lot of soft skills students really take away from this experience. Of course, global networking. So you'll be networking, internally with your UCLA cohort as you go abroad. You also have other university students a lot of times in these locations that are conducting similar internships. But of course, the on-site supervisor, the teams you're working with, our on-site partners is a great opportunity to network. Specifically, if you're thinking of getting a career, building a career abroad after you're done, or just building your resume, getting a cover letter once you complete the experience. And then, of course, we'll discuss a little bit later is making academic progress. We want to ensure this is not just a benefit to your professional endeavors, but also towards your academics at UCLA. So let's do a quick overview of what the global internship program is. And you'll see on the right-hand side, we have a quick video as well that shows some highlights from our Bogota program. So the Global Internship Program takes place in summer session A10. It is composed of an 8-week long internship on site, as well as 10 weeks of academic coursework. So you'll be at the internship between mid-June to mid-August, and you'll be taking 1 to 2 academic courses. So there's a mandatory course, Education 195 CE, for 4 units. And there's also the optional intercultural communications course in the global workplace. These are academic-based internships, so they're non-paid, they're just for academic credit. And all of the education-focused internships are in country, there's no virtual options. So those would be approximately 32 hours per week. So really interning full-time, while you're abroad, as well as conducting that academic coursework. So the courses you would be taking, again, um, include, or actually, I should take that back. It's either the mandatory course is Education 195 CE or Global Health 195 CE. So depending on what academic track you decide to enroll in will depend on what mandatory course you take. So if you are enrolling in what we call our education academic track, your mandatory course is Education 195 CE. And so that would fulfill your education and social transformation major community engagement requirement. On the other hand, we do have an academic track that's focused on global health, doing observational clinical rotations. And that mandatory course through that track would be Global Health 185 CE. Similarly, even though this is not an education course, it would also fulfill that community engagement requirement for the education and social transformation major. Now, the optional course that's offered for both tracks, CESC 130, fulfills an education major elective. So the great thing is you could do this experience and get 8 units of credit towards your education major. Now, in terms of eligibility, of course, being an education major, you must have a 3.0 GPA. If you are a transfer student and you don't have a GPA in the fall, that's okay. We will do a grade check as of the first week of winter quarter, just to ensure that you have a 3.0 GPA at the time of accepting or officially offering applicants an internship. 90 units completed by spring 2026, which should not be a problem for education majors. Good standing. And then something that's very important is you must complete education 180 by spring 2026. I know those of you watching in Professor Dorio's class, you're already doing this course right now, but if you're watching online, that's something you want to make sure that you complete prior to the experience. I know the class is offered every quarter, so just make sure you are enrolling before you depart or speaking with your education academic advisor if you have any concerns. All right, the location. So as I mentioned, there's an education track and a global health track. As education majors, you are eligible for both. So if you are planning to do the education track, the opportunities are located in Bali, Indonesia, Bogota, Colombia, and Cape Town, South Africa. And so if you're doing the education academic track, a lot of the placements are in advocacy group, human rights, social justice focused organizations. There are some that are maybe in school after school programs or community-based programs, I would say. So you saw on the Cape Town video, we had a student, Coco, last year that was conducting as a teacher assistant during her time in Cape Town. But really that focus on kind of, grassroots NGOs and nonprofits is pretty common for this particular track. We like to have students, kind of, creating curriculum for maybe the NGO, conducting, presentations. They might be going out into the community. So it's not necessarily always the stereotypical, teacher assistant placement, but really, goes well with the focus of your education major. Now, on the other hand, if you're planning to do the global health academic track, we have opportunities in La Paz, Bolivia, and Oaxaca, Mexico. This would be focused on observational clinical rotations. So if you're thinking about going to health education, this is a great opportunity. We've had past education majors complete the experience through this track. And just as a note for the global health locations, it's really important that you do have an intermediate level of Spanish speaking skills, as there is a home stay piece of this program, as well as all the preceptors you'd be working with would be speaking in Spanish. In terms of the Bogota Colombia location, a basic level of Spanish is encouraged but not required. Both Bali and Cape Town English is fine in terms of conducting your internship. All right, so now we talked about the locations. Let's talk about how would you apply to the program. So I'll show a QR code in a little bit, but basically when you go to our website, you will be able to search by the academic track. So you can see education is right there. If you click on education, that will actually show you all 5 locations. So I know that I talked about global health education, but if you click on the education academic track, because it's meant just for education majors, you will be able to see all 5 locations present. It'll pop up to a screen like this, and then you can click on the location that you are most interested in learning about. So when you are on the program page, we have a lot of really important tabs. So you'll see there's an overview, there's steps to apply that will go over how you can apply for the program. Apply now is how you actually apply to the program. There's the buttons there. Academic eligibility, you can see here, talks a little bit more about the coursework and how it applies towards your major. If you go to the next screen, you'll see that we have information of the types of placement opportunities. So every location will be a little bit unique in terms of the opportunities available for placements. So you'll want to review that a little bit in depth to make sure that it matches your career goals and interests. We do have on the right hand of the screen a sample internship placements handbook where you can learn more about what past students have done. Please note that these are some sample placements of what past students have done. It is not an exhaustive list, and is not every single placement an education student has available to them. It really just shows a few examples of what you might be able to do in that particular location. You'll notice to the left of sample internship placements, there is a cost and funding tab. That's where we break down the costs of the programs, what's billed to Bruinville, what are estimated costs like, your flight, meals, things like that, stuff to take into consideration. And we, of course, have information about the housing, on-site experience, travel, as well as the student experience tab, where you can see videos and testimonials from past participants. All right, so if you are interested in applying, there's 2 steps. The first piece is the application. So the application includes a biographical, online application, just more for logistical purposes that we're collecting information. You also, as a part of this application, will submit your resume and a statement of purpose. So the statement of purpose template you'll find on the Steps to Apply tab on the particular program page, or in the application itself, there will be a link to it. That statement of purpose really just, we want to learn more about you as a candidate, your career goals, your interests, how this, internship experience would really align with what you want to do in the future, and what sort of, what sort of experiences or skills you have that make you stand out as a candidate. Your resume, you would want to be as up to date as possible so that if a future, employer would review it, you would have everything that you think is relevant in terms of professional, academic, leadership, volunteer experiences on there. And after you submit your application, we'll review internally in the office to make sure that you meet the requirements. And then if you do meet the minimum requirements, we'll move you forward toward an application interview. So this is an interview with what we call our on-site program partners. Those are the folks who will be on site with you in the location. They're in charge of the internship placement process. So they have a network of organizations or companies they work with, or in the case of global health, the clinics and hospitals that they conduct the clinical rotations at. And so they will learn more about you in this application interview to, kind of expand on your statement of purpose. Who are you as a person? What are the career experiences that you have and want to obtain in your life? What sort of, skills would you bring to an internship site? So really just expanding on your statement of purpose. And then it's an opportunity for you as a candidate to ask questions of them to see whether it's a good match for you, because at this point you are still learning about the program and making sure that it's a good match for you moving forward. Once you complete the application interview, then it goes on to the selection and placement process. The application interviews will be going on a rolling basis, so just be aware that you can, as soon as you apply, it takes about 5 to 7 days to process applications, and then we'll reach out to you with information for the interview. So once you apply, it goes into the selection and placement process. And to do that, I'm going to share a quick video that kind of outlines that process. And please note that this process that the video is going to outline is specifically focused on those 3 education-specific placements, Bogota, Bali, and Cape Town. but the in terms of the internship placement piece of it, but in terms of the deadlines that would relate to the global health programs. The reason the global health is different for the placement piece is that you will be conducting clinical rotations at different clinics or hospitals every week. And so that piece is not a placement at a particular organization for your full 8 weeks. It's really working with the medical director to kind of figure out what your career goals are to put you in placements that you can, learn from. So whether it's pediatrics, whether it's learning from, a health-based NGO focused on more indigenous medicine. So things like that.
The UCLA Global Internship Program. Placement process and timeline. The Global Internship Program offers UCLA students the opportunity to gain a competitive edge in the job market with an 8-week international summer internship. Students receive direct UCLA credit and secure an internship based on their academic, professional and personal goals. After an application is submitted, the student will interview with our program partners in the host country to assess their qualifications, experience, goals and discuss possible internship placements. In January, after an extensive review, students are notified of their application status. If accepted, they must submit a non-refundable $300 deposit to secure their spot on the program. In February, students must pay the full program fee or submit a financial aid agreement form. This payment is used to finalize and secure all program logistics, such as housing. This is also the last chance to withdraw from the program without any additional financial penalty. Starting in April and moving into early June, the internship placement process will occur. Our program partners will arrange interviews with local organizations and companies based on each student's individual goals. Students will interview with one host company at a time. Ongoing interviews will continue with prospective internship site managers until there is a match between both the student and the host company. We guarantee all students an international internship placement. Visit ieo.ucla.edu/globalinternships to view our programs, dates and deadlines, funding resources, and more.
So the important notes to take away from that is, so for both education and global health programs, in January, we'll send out decisions if you've been accepted to the program. Only at that point is there a deposit required. So there's no financial commitment to apply, conduct the application interview. Only in January do we request a commitment to the program if you're accepted. And then in February, after students have either officially, paid the program fee or completed financial aid paperwork, that says they're using aid to pay for the program fee. At that point, the placement process will begin. So that was the main difference, that if you're doing the education-focused ones in Bali, Bogota, or Cape Town, you'll be connected for interviews. If you're conducting the global health-focused placements in La Paz or Oaxaca, you won't be doing those interviews, but rather you'll be sending along information about your preferences so that they can create a schedule for you for those observational clinical rotations based on your interests. Now on the screen, you'll see the application is currently open and available until November 24th. And so you can apply anytime during that cycle and your application is treated equally. The one benefit of applying early is you can complete the application interview a little bit earlier. A lot of students apply on the very last day, which means you might be doing that interview during week 10, finals week, or during the vacation in December. All right, so real quick before we end, I wanted to talk a little bit about program funding, how you might be able to support yourself financially to be able to complete the global internship program. So the first thing to note is that if you do receive financial aid at UCLA, your aid will travel with you abroad. So aid including grants, scholarships, and loans. So please note the summer term is the first term of the next academic year, so you'd have to complete your FAFSA or DREAM Act application by the priority deadline for summer 2026 programs. And you must be enrolled in 8 units in order to be eligible for financial aid. I like to just be open and honest with students that summer tends to be loan heavy because there's no Cal Grant offered in the summer. And then for the global internship program, you would be considered a part-time student as you're taking 8 units. And so we always encourage students to focus on also applying for scholarships. So we have a lot of scholarships available in our office, some specifically just for the global internship program, some available for students that, let's say, are going on the global health program, some based on identity, based on income. So just be aware there's a lot of available scholarships for you to apply to. If you're a Pell Grant recipient, I also highly encourage the National Benjamin Gilman Scholarship. That one gives up to $5,000 for students studying abroad. And we have a really great track record of global internship program participants getting that scholarship. I would say about 30 to 40% the past few years that have applied have actually received that scholarship. All right. So I know that you've all been here today listening to this general Zoom session about the education programs. Please note we do have location-specific sessions coming up, so you can learn more specifically about each location and from our on-site partners and possibly some student returnees. So it's a great opportunity to learn a little bit more before you make the decision to apply. Those are running between the next 2 weeks in October till the end of the month. So feel free to check out the website and to RSVP. We also have on our website a lot of returnees that are what we call GIP and ambassadors. And so these are students who went on the program and are available to speak with prospective applicants to discuss any questions you have from a student perspective. And you can reach out to those students directly from our website. So we have that here on the screen. You can also find the ambassador page by navigating our website itself. And then I just wanted to say that really hope to see some of you this upcoming summer, 2026. We always have an amazing cohort of education students. If you do the education course, a 195 CE course, Dr. Dorio would actually be teaching that course, so a great way to continue connecting with him. If you're doing the global health course, we will have another instructor for that course, but also a great way to learn more about the field of global health. So thank you all so much for your time. I am your advisor for this program, so you are free to reach out to me directly if you have any questions after the presentation that you want to follow up on via email or you want to schedule a one-on-one appointment. So without further ado, I'm going to stop the recording and open it up for any questions folks might have.